Conversations with Phil. Business advice without the BS. Just straight talk and frank conversations to help you grow your business by teaching you to get more leads, earn more referrals, and close more business.
All right, well, today I get to talk to my pal, Karen Jacobsen in New York. She's an Aussie. Her book launches today. Yay. Recalculate. Really cool. I was fortunate because Karen is a dear to get me a copy of this a while ago. It's a wonderful book, and she's a wonderful person. She's one of the voices of Siri. She's a GPS girl. She's an amazing singer. She's a great speaker. She is a wonderful author. And most importantly, she's a great human being. So Karen, welcome to Conversations with Phil. I'm glad you're here.
G'day.
Yeah, right? I think that's the first time I've heard you say anything Aussie. That's funny.
Well, I was saving it up for this moment, Phil.
Right. That's so funny. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And we have so many different ways we could go with this conversation. But I want to talk, the whole thing of your book is Recalculate. And I'd like you to define that first, because I think it's important that we level set and help people understand what that means.
To be able to recalculate is to be able to keep going no matter what happens when things don't go as planned. So to recalculate is to course correct, to start again, to have a do-over, to have a clean slate and move forward from it. And we are doing this all day, every day. But it's certainly my experience and my observation, we more often as human beings, we are doing this with a weight and an unpleasant experience. If something doesn't go the way we want it to go, it can be very, very natural to be upset about it, to be frustrated, to be angry. And what I show people how to do and how I practice to live my life is to be able to have something not go the way you thought it was going to go, to notice it more and more quickly, and to be able to then make a plan on where you're going to head next and enjoy that process. And it's something that can be practiced and that we can become better and better at doing. And, life's about feeling good and having a great time. And this, to me, impacts our quality of life in a big way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think enjoying that process often is the hardest part, though. So Give us an example, Karen, of how that's come up in your life. Because, a lot of people say, well, wow, Karen's seen all this success, so she's never had to recalculate. This is just some pie in the sky ideal. But I know that's not true. So give us a recalculate story from you, please.
Okay, I'm going to give you some big ones, but I'm going to give you a little tiny example first, because I happen to be wired in a very optimistic way, which I credit my beautiful mother for giving me and instilling in me. And I didn't know this about myself until I moved to the United States. And I've been here since the year 2000. And in that first year, I became very close friends with a singer-songwriter and her husband. And we were driving to Boston to a show. We were both performing for this show, and it was raining. And they were saying, oh, it's just such a shame that it's raining on this drive to Boston, because I was new to the United States. And I said, without even thinking about it, but we really do need the rain. Like the flowers need the rain.
Yeah.
And right now, in this part of the world, we do need the rain. And they laughed. And they just said, Karen, is there nothing that you aren't optimistic about? And that was one of the first times I became aware that I am a glass half full person. So, but that's what I believe. I believe there's something good to see in every unpleasant situation that might happen. So, I moved from Australia to New York City on my own. It was my dream from the age of 7 when I saw Olivia Newton-John on television.
Cool.
And I was inspired by her, and I wanted to be just like her and become a professional singer and move to America. So I ultimately did that, but I was riddled with anxiety the entire time. I had bravado, and I was totally determined and committed and clear that this is where I had to come. but it was absolutely terrifying. And I had to talk myself through that a lot. So yes, I've had incredible successes, and I have been on major stages and media, and I've released 9 CDs on my own record label, and this is my second book, and I'm so excited because today's the day. And so many other examples that I could give you of the appearance of success, and I have had successes, but I'm a human being like every single other person on the planet who is dealing with myself, working to figure it out every single day.
Yeah.
So moving from Australia to New York City was indescribably challenging. And I mean, on my own, with a suitcase and a dream to try and figure out how to find a place to live, work here, create an income stream, cope with the emotional challenges of having no support system, certainly in comparison to all my friends and family being in Australia. And then, you know, I've had many major recalculations.
Yeah, that's so, it's interesting because, you know, if we take back just to the beginning of what you said there, you said that you believe that there is something to be learned and something to see positive in everything that happens. Not that everything that happens is positive.
No.
I think there's a big difference there because, you know, I'm a positive person too. And it's not that I always think it's sunshine and puppy dogs. It's that I realize that something inside of there I can take from, I can learn, I can use that to build, even if it totally sucks.
Yep. Look, a few years ago, there was this phenomenon known as the GFC. Do you remember that, Phil?
I do, yeah.
Global financial crisis.
Mm-hmm.
For all the kids out there, this was back in 2007, 2008, when the world economy basically tanked. And the United States was in a dreadful state. And at that time, my husband and I were both in the entertainment business, and our businesses started to be affected. But we were on the tail end of a really unfortunate period of time where we'd been going through legal action with my husband's ex-wife. We had awful legal bills. We were living in New York City. We were trying to survive here. We started to incur, we were in deep in credit card debt. We were paying 30% interest rates. I don't know if you remember those, Phil, but they were not pretty. No. And we had a strategy to get out of that, and that was that we came into a small amount of money and we bought an apartment. So we had a down payment for an apartment. Wasn't enough to pay off that credit card debt, but it was enough to have this down payment. And our strategy was, when we closed on that apartment, the following month we planned to refinance and be able to then dump that 30% interest credit card debt into our 6% mortgage, or 8% mortgage, I think it might have been at the time. So this was actually a really smart recalculating strategy. And we closed on the apartment. We moved into our beautiful new home. However, it was August of 2007. And a month later, I called our mortgage guy, Tim. I said, Tim, it's Karen. We're ready to refinance our mortgage. And Tim said, oh, Karen, the laws have all changed and those mortgages aren't available anymore. So we were stuck. We were stuck with $90,000 worth of credit card debt, almost all of it at 30% interest rates, which is almost impossible to keep up with in terms of payments. And we had this beautiful new apartment we couldn't afford to live in. By this time, I was 6 months pregnant with our son. Business was not improving, and we hit rock bottom. And we living in a gorgeous new apartment and no money for groceries. I mean, it's embarrassing. It was embarrassingly bad. And we knew we had to recalculate in a really big way. Like, we'd had this strategy and we had this plan to get ourselves out of it, and that fell apart. So here's what we did. We got in touch with a realtor. We rented out our beautiful new home. We did not want to leave. We put tenants in here so we could bring any money in right away. And then we had some frequent flyer miles, and I got on the phone and I booked us tickets to Australia. And we flew out there, not knowing how long we would be there or what we were going to do, but it was a safe place for us to be. And we went and we lived with my parents for a year to get back on our feet with, at that time, our baby. So here I was, a fully grown adult with my husband and my baby, moving in with my parents. And it was one of the smartest moves we've ever made, and that I've ever made. We had then the ability to start rebuilding our financial lives. We had that emotional support. My husband travels a lot with work, so he would, believe it or not, commute from Australia. And when he had a job, he would go to Turkey, he would come back. He would go to America, he would come back. And that worked for us because we had it set up in such a way that we had no overhead, or very little overhead. So during that time, I was on the phone with 19 credit card companies. I did 0% 5-year deals with 19 credit card companies, one at a time. And with a mortgage company, we were on the phone. I was on the phone with them from January to December of 2009, across time zones, and during periods of time where they were not approving any modifications. And on Christmas Eve, finally, of 2009, we were approved for a modification on our apartment, and we could start to make plans to move back into our home. This was major recalculation, but as you might imagine, when you recalculate in a really big way, there are some rewards you don't expect, which was what we were just discussing. And for us, I mean, it was really clear our baby son got an entire year with his grandparents. That wasn't on the cards. I mean, that's priceless time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got to reconnect with my homeland, and my husband and I, for many couples, that could be the end of things, but it really made us stronger. And I really feel lucky. I have a husband who was willing to live with his in-laws for a whole year. So I would say that is the most major recalculation I've had to make in my life.
Wow, that is a huge recalculation, Karen.
I don't know if you were expecting that story to be
no,
long, but
no. Well, it's not about long, right? That's a big lesson, right? I mean, that's a big deal. A lot of people, oh my gosh, I lost my job and now I have to find another one, maybe at a couple dollars less an hour or a couple thousand less a year. But as entertainers, it's very different, right? You have to hustle for everything you get. So often reducing overhead to zero or as much as you can is the only solution that you have. So I think that's very gutsy to be able to do that. And now to be on the other side of that and to look back and look at those lessons. Sometimes we don't see them when we're going through them, right?
Oh no, it was very difficult to see anything good. I'm really proud to tell you that we work to a budget now, and we are credit card debt free. July 3rd, 2012. I can tell you that was the day we paid all of that credit card debt back.
Awesome.
And people were like, "You should go bankrupt." I just couldn't do it. I just felt that all it would wipe. We had other debts as well as that credit card debt, and I just felt like that's just, to me, I felt like we had incurred that debt, and despite the sometimes questionable motives of financial institutions, I still feel that we incurred that debt, and I wanted to stand by and buy it and pay it off.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's great that you were able to do that and to learn so much. And now it's been 3 years. And last year you got your American citizenship.
I did.
So talk about that. Yeah.
Becoming an American citizen was a very big deal because since I was 7 years old, wanted to live in America. And then to be able to, after 14 years of paperwork and living here, to be approved to be able to be a dual citizen in the United States and in Australia was a very, very big moment for me. And now I'm leading up to being able to vote in my first election, and I'm very excited about that. And that was, there aren't very many differences between having a green card and becoming an American citizen, but that was a major one for me, to be able to do that. And so it's I'm tremendously proud to be an American as well as an Australian.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, the lot of changes, right? A lot of things have morphed and stuff. So talk to us about this book, Karen. I mean, Directions for Driving Performance Success sounds like a book that everybody should read. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? How did this kind of spring forth, and talk to us a little bit about some of the secrets inside there so that we can recalculate.
Well, I feel it is a book everyone should read. Look, how this book came about is I expect a lot of myself, and I expect a lot of myself, and I expect a lot out of life. And I'm always looking at how I can be the best me I can be. I want to look my best. I want to feel my best. I want to be my best. I want to give my best. All about how to be my best. And it occurred to me there are other people who share this way of living or are interested and have a desire to live this way. Now, I was preparing to speak at an event about a year ago, and I wanted to create this checklist. And the idea of this checklist is a list of things to work toward, or frameworks to have in place in our lives and in our businesses to be able to drive our success. And it also came out of a period of the previous year of lifting the game for myself in many areas. Now, to me, success is not just financial success or status success. I find it really important that I have success across all areas, and sometimes they don't all line up that way, but that's what I'm going for. So what I did is I created this checklist based on how I lived my life and how I aspire to live my life across 4 areas: business, well-being, delivery, and quality of life. And for each of those 4 areas, I have a checklist of things to work toward. And I say to work toward these outcomes over about a year to 2 years. There's really no time limit. I'm now going to put on the matching fill glasses. Ta-da!
Awesome.
Some of the examples in the quality of life outcomes, because let's face it, all the money in the world and all the, title on your job description in the world, or book sales, or whatever might, living in the biggest, most beautifully decorated house, whatever it might be, does not necessarily buy quality of life. So here are some of the outcomes. I am on time. Doesn't that sound simple?
Yeah.
Be able to check that off and know that you are always on time, that's a big one. That, to me, affects quality of life and our relationship with ourselves. I do not complain, and I am solution-oriented. Now, I figure that might take about a year to get that in place, maybe longer. I'm working on it all the time. And that's the other thing about this book and the outcomes is I'm working on these day in and day out. I feel on top of things. So often we can have things in place in other areas of our lives, but feel overwhelmed, feel like we are behind, feel like the to-do list is never going to end, and we're really not at peace within ourselves about how we are living. To me, that's priceless, and that's something that I really work toward. Then the other areas, the area of delivery, or the department of delivery, people might go, well, what's delivery? It's how you deliver whatever you deliver in your life and business, whether it be how you're taking care of your family, or whether it be how you deliver your job description at work. And number 1 in my outcomes for delivery is I am genuinely interested in helping others, because I really believe that is the deepest key to congruency and success. My wardrobe is organized, and I only wear clothing that makes me feel and look my best. Ongoing. That's an ongoing goal. But if that was in place, imagine how successful we would feel. There are a number of performance-related outcomes on this delivery list, but I really feel that they actually relate to people who are not performing or singing or being on stage or speaking. I have taken steps to be sure my microphone technique is excellent. Now, if you're a stay-at-home mum, you might read that and go, well, I don't know that I need to be caring about my microphone technique being excellent, but I beg to differ, because one day you are going to be in a group of people. You might be volunteering for your local soccer club. You might be at school on the PTA. You might simply be getting married and be making a speech, or at someone else's wedding. Wouldn't it be great to know in advance how to hold a microphone? And because confidence is everything. So even though some of these things might not seem relevant, I believe they're extremely relevant. And then we have all of the business goals, which, having professional photographs taken, whether you work for somebody else or for yourself. Everyone's seen a LinkedIn profile with a not so congruent, photograph, right?
Yep.
I'm earning my target revenue, etc. I have my taxes and accounting up to date. That can apply to everybody. So that there are a few of those outcomes on the business line. But the one area that I think is overlooked more often than not in business that I haven't mentioned yet, can you guess what it is, Phil?
Home life, your family?
Well-being.
Yeah.
And well-being, that absolutely comes into, and I think it's becoming much more topical. Arianna Huffington's books are really shining a light on what is success and what is, that health, there's a price to pay for many people with their schedules and their busyness, and that health is really a part of the wealth factor. So I have an entire list here around well-being, remembering to drink 6 to 10 glasses of water a day, to sleep at least 7 hours a night, to put it in our schedule like an important business meeting, as Arianna Huffington would say, to exercise regularly, to have an annual physical and dental checkup in the last 12 months. This sounds boring and basic, I know, but do you know how many people look at that list and could not check off the basics?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really putting them out there to remove toxins from the products you're putting on your body and in your body. To me, these well-being outcomes will have such a major factor on your energy level, your vitality, your ability to deliver at your very best in your business. They're the cornerstone, I believe, of success.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the whole person concept, really, really powerful and really important to remember. So with that, Karen, I know one of the important things to you is the connections in your life, the people you're connected to. And you told me before we started that you're going to speak at the NSA chapter, the National Speaker Association, out in Colorado. So talk about the importance of that community, because that's how we connected, is through NSA. And talk about why a professional association matters today when we have things like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and we could be connected to anybody we wanted to be.
Because social media, connecting online in some way, and even being on the phone, will never replace being there in person. It won't. Imagine pretending to kiss somebody, and then imagine that it's never, ever, ever going to replace the real thing.
Yeah.
It's just not going to. And the power of a group of like-minded colleagues you can connect with about every area of life, and especially your profession, and the trends and the ups and the downs, and someone to share that with. I mean, magic really happens in groups and in collectives. So I am a huge proponent of joining not only joining, but diving in and being active in your association for your profession. And if it's a boring group, get in there and change it. Get in there and be the person to say, you know what, let's go and do something fun together to get to know each other, because that's where it all happens. The connection, the deepest of connections happen when you are breaking bread with somebody, when you are in a more relaxed social setting. So by all means, have those business events, but also if you want to deeply connect with somebody, move it into a social setting, and the miraculous outcomes that can come from that, not to be diminished.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was some of the best things in my life have happened as a result of being involved in associations of my profession. So I can't echo that enough. I think, and it does start with you, right? If it sucks, it's your responsibility to change it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people can have a real issue with. Mm-hmm. And we've all got a judge and jury. Every single human being, we seem to be born with that judge and jury. But how are we going to manage that judge and jury? Are we going to walk into a group of people and write them off repeatedly, or are we going to put it to one side and say, you know what, these, like it or not, these are my people. I'm going to find some way to make a connection.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's really up to us, right? We can make that choice. We can choose to be the recalculator in that association, in our lives, in business, to make that work. So that's wonderful. That's all the advice and all the insights you gave in this conversation were awesome, Karen. So where do people get more Karen Jacobsen? Because I know, I can tell you truly, Karen, I'm always inspired whenever I see the good stuff you do online. I love seeing you in person, and it's awesome to be able to share your book launch day with you. So tell us how they get more of you.
Thank you for asking that, Phil. Well, I'm so easy to find. My brand is the GPS Girl. The GPS Girl, because my speaking voice is in a lot of devices around the world. So it's an empowerment brand. You can find me everywhere in social media, Facebook, Twitter @the GPS Girl, Instagram @the GPS Girl, LinkedIn, my YouTube channel. But really the main hub where it all comes together is thegpsgirl.com. And I really love to be able to share with people ways to recalculate when we don't feel like it. So if you need a boost, some words of inspiration or motivation, or just to read something or watch something that is uplifting in some way, come visit us at thegpsgirl.com. We blog very regularly and really here to be of service and to help people know that they can choose to recalculate on a moment-to-moment basis. And it can become something that becomes a way of life and can become easier. Look, there are times in life where it is not easy, and we need to give ourselves a lot of room. And then there are other times when we can just get on with it and practice picking ourselves up, dusting ourselves off, and keeping on going toward our destination. So that's what I'm about, is really, really sharing from my heart about what's really happening in my life, and reminding everybody that recalculating is, it is never too late to recalculate.
Yeah. Awesome. So the GPS Girl, Karen Jacobsen, thank you for being here today, my dear. Congratulations on your book. I'm so darn excited for you on the Recalculate. Today is book launch day, so I'm just grateful for you. So thank you for sharing your morning with me, Karen.
Thank you, Phil. You have reached your destination.